Welcome to Eternal Echoes, where history drifts softly through time. Here we uncover lives long past, forgotten worlds, and mysteries buried in the sands of ages. Each story is told gently, not to excite, but to soothe. So close your eyes if you wish, and let the past carry you, calmly and quietly, into rest. Close your eyes and let yourself drift. The desert is cool before dawn. The stars still shine, faint and distant, and the Nile, just a short walk away, reflects their pale light like liquid silver. You awaken not in comfort, but in a worker's hut built of mud brick. The walls are rough, the roof low, the floor is hard-packed earth. Beside you, other men stir, wrapped in simple linen, their breathing heavy with sleep. The air smells of dust, of sweat, and of yesterday's fire still faintly smoldering outside. A horn sounds in the distance, deep and low, carried on the breeze. It is time to rise. Imagine yourself pushing yourself up from the floor, stretching your aching muscles. Your body is sore from the day before. Your hands are rough, calloused, and split from the constant grip of ropes and stone. You are only 25 years old, yet your skin is weathered by the relentless sun. You step outside into the pre-dawn stillness. The air is cool now, but you know that soon the heat will come. The village around you stirs. Fires are being lit. The smell of smoke mixes with the faint sweetness of baking bread. Children cry. Women murmur as they prepare meals for the laborers. This is Hayt el Ghurab, the workers' village at Giza, where thousands of men live and labor, all bound to the same rhythm. Your breakfast is simple, thick bread, coarse and heavy. A small piece of onion, sharp in taste, burning slightly as you chew. Perhaps a handful of dried dates, sticky and sweet. And always the beer, not strong, not like what will be drunk at night, but a thin, nourishing brew made from barley. It is safe, it is filling. It is the fuel that carries you into the day. You eat quickly, squatting on the ground with your companions. Around you, men murmur quietly. Some are still half asleep. Others joke, laugh, or sing softly to shake away the drowsiness. The bread is tough, the beer is warm, but it is enough. And then comes the march, the long walk to the pyramid site. You join a line of men, dozens, hundreds, all moving slowly through the sands. Torches flicker, their flames small in the darkness. The horizon glows faintly, the first blush of dawn. Ahead, you see it rising in silhouette, the unfinished pyramid, massive, even in its incomplete state. A mountain of stone, its edges sharp against the sky. Each day, it grows higher. Each day, you climb, you pull, you sweat, and still, the work never seems to end. The overseers shout commands. Their voices are harsh, but they are not cruel. They too answer to higher masters. Whips crack in the distance, more for sound than for pain, reminding all of the discipline required. You are assigned to the hauling team today. Your task, to drag sledges laden with limestone blocks from the quarry to the construction site. Each block weighs as much as several men. It is not possible for one man or 10 men. But with ropes, with wooden sledges, with water poured onto the sand to reduce friction, it can be done. You grip the rope. Your shoulders strain. The fibers cut into your palms. Around you, dozens of men pull in rhythm. Someone begins a work song, low and steady, and soon others join. The chant carries you forward, the rhythm matching the pounding of your heart. The weight of your steps. Step, pull, breathe, again and again. The sun rises higher. The cool air vanishes. Heat presses down like a heavy hand. Your skin burns beneath the linen. Sweat soaks through your tunic. Sand sticks to your body. The sound of stone on stone echoes in the air. Chisels striking blocks, hammers pounding wedges, ropes creaking, sledges grinding across sand. It is a symphony of labor, unending, relentless. When you rest, it is brief. A gulp of water from a clay jar, passed from hand to hand. Another piece of bread, perhaps an onion if you are fortunate. Then back to work. Always back to work. Your tools are simple. Copper chisels, soft and quickly dulled. Wooden mallets, heavy and splintering. Ropes made of papyrus and palm fiber. Levers of wood to shift the stones. Every tool must be tended carefully. Chisels are carried to workshops to be sharpened. Ropes are braided anew, twisted tighter. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is taken for granted. And yet, for all their simplicity, these tools are enough. With them, with time, with countless hands, mountains are moved. Not all return from the day's work unscathed. Men slip on stone. Ropes snap, crushing limbs. Heat overwhelms the body. Coughs rattle lungs, stomachs cramp from spoiled food. There are physicians, priests, trained in the arts of healing. They use honey to clean wounds, herbs to ease pain, prayers to call upon the gods. Some recover, some do not. The work continues. And yet, though the suffering is real, you are not a slave. You are a laborer, conscripted for a season, or perhaps a year, your family supported by rations of grain and beer. Your service is both duty and burden, hardship and honor. At last, the sun sinks low. The overseers dismiss the teams. The march back to the village begins. Your body aches, every muscle sore, your throat dry, your hands raw. Dust clings to your skin. You have left the dusty huts of the workers behind. Now, imagine yourself walking into another world, one of cool stone, painted walls, and shaded gardens. This is not the life of a laborer. This is the life of a king, the life of Pharaoh Khufu, the man for whom the great pyramid rises. Khufu was not born in the dust of the workers' village. He was born into the hush of palace halls. His cradle was not of woven reeds, but of carved wood, lacquered and painted. The linen that swaddled him was soft, fine, bleached white, touched with perfumes of lotus and myrrh. Imagine the halls of Memphis, the capital of Egypt during his youth. Broad courtyards lined with columns, walls painted with scenes of gods and kings, their colors still bright and fresh. Pools of water glistening in the courtyards, lily floating, papyrus swaying gently. Khufu, as a child, would have been surrounded by nurses, tutors, and priests. He was taught not only to walk and speak, but to recite hymns, to understand the rhythms of ritual, to respect the power of the gods. His play was not with toys of clay, but with small carved animals of ivory, with little wooden boats that floated on palace pools. And always, above his games, was the shadow of destiny, the knowledge that one day he would not be a child, but the embodiment of Horus on earth. As Khufu grew, his education grew with him. He was taught mathematics, the rhythms of counting, the movement of stars across the sky. He learned of Egypt's lands, the black earth by the Nile, fertile and lush, and the red desert beyond, harsh and unyielding. Priests taught him the words of the gods, the prayers to be spoken at dawn, at noon, at dusk. He learned the myths of Aya, the sun god, who traveled across the sky each day, and of Osiris, who ruled over the dead. He was also trained in the arts of command, how to lead men, how to judge disputes, how to recognize loyalty, and how to sense deceit. He listened to generals speak of campaigns, to scribes recite lists of tribute, to merchants speak of trade from faraway lands. Each lesson was a stone, carefully laid. And from these stones, Khufu's character was built, as steady and unyielding as the pyramid that would one day bear his name. Years passed. His father, Snefru, the builder of great pyramids before him, left the throne. And Khufu, still young, stepped into his place. Imagine the day of his coronation. The great court filled with nobles, their linen robes white, their jewelry gleaming. Priests chanting, drums beating slowly, the scent of incense thick in the air. Khufu stood tall, crowned with the red crown of Lower Egypt and the white crown of Upper Egypt. Together, they formed the double crown, the sign that he ruled not a city, not a province, but all of Egypt, from the delta in the north to the first cataract in the south. From that day, Khufu was not merely a man. He was Horus, the falcon god, ruler of the sky. He was Ra's chosen, the one who carried divine order on earth. Every word he spoke, every gesture he made, carried the weight of law. And yet, beneath the crowns, beneath the godly titles, he remained a man. A man with ambitions, with fears, with dreams of a monument that would outlast time itself. Now let us step into his palace. The halls are cool, shaded from the sun. Stone floors are smooth beneath your feet. The walls are painted in bright colors, blues, reds, golds, telling stories of the gods, of victories, of rituals. Servants move quietly, bowing as they pass. They carry trays of food, bread baked from the finest flour, honey cakes dripping with sweetness, roasted goose, fish fresh from the Nile. Jars of wine are poured, cooled in water jars, flavored with herbs. In the mornings, Khufu receives his officials. Scribes unroll papyrus scrolls, reading lists of tribute, grain from the delta, gold from Nubia, cedar wood from Lebanon, turquoise from Sinai. Generals speak of garrisons stationed at borders. Priests speak of rituals to be performed, temples to be built, festivals to be prepared. Khufu listens. He speaks rarely, but when he does, his words are final. A gesture of his hand, a nod of his head, and orders ripple outward, carried by scribes and overseers, reaching villages hundreds of miles away. Ruling was not only administration. It was ritual, ceremony, performance. At dawn, Khufu would sometimes climb to the roof of a temple to greet the rising sun. The priests would chant hymns to Ra, the golden disk climbing the horizon, the bringer of life. Incense would rise into the sky, fragrant and curling. At festivals, Khufu would appear before the people, dressed in shining linen, his staff in hand, his crown gleaming. The crowds would cheer, chanting his name, hailing him as living God. The sound would echo through the streets, a reminder of his power, but also of the people's faith in his divine role. And in the evenings, the palace would glow with feasts, tables laden with fruit, with wine, with delicacies brought from distant lands. Musicians played harps, flutes, and drums. Dancers moved gracefully, their arms weaving patterns like flowing water. Perfumes filled the air, frankincense, lotus oil, cinnamon. Life at court was abundance, a stark contrast to the toil of the workers in the dust of Giza. Yet both loves, worker and king, were bound together by the same monument, rising against the horizon. More than anything, Khufu is remembered for his pyramid. Imagine him standing on the plateau at Giza, the desert stretching wide, the Nile glistening in the distance. He looks out over the land, and he envisions a tomb greater than any before. Not a simple step pyramid, not even the great pyramids of his father, Sneferu. Something larger, something enduring, something eternal. His architects, his overseers, his priests, all bow before his command. And so the work begins. Quarries opened, sledges built, rope braided, men summoned from villages across Egypt. Day after day, year after year, the stones rise. And Khufu watches, his legacy taking shape, not in words, not in victories, but in stone. Khufu ruled for more than 20 years. In his time, Egypt was stable, rich, powerful, but his memory is not simple. Later generations remembered him as stern, even harsh. Herodotus, writing thousands of years later, claimed he was cruel. And yet, the truth is blurred, as truth often is. What endures is not the judgment of words, but the silence of stone. The Great Pyramid stands still against the desert sky. Khufu's name remains, carved on hidden stones within. When you stand before the pyramid today, you are not only looking at a tomb, you are looking at Khufu's dream, his command, his will made solid. A mountain built by hands of men, but envisioned by one man's mind. And so you have walked with Khufu, from cradle to crown, from the rituals of his palace to the rising of his pyramid. The sun sets over the desert once more. The workers return to their huts, the court to its feasts. And Khufu, the pharaoh, the god-king, looks upon his monument. His life has passed, but his pyramid remains, silent, steadfast, eternal. The desert is quiet again. The sun has dipped lower, painting the limestone blocks of the Great Pyramid in soft gold. The chatter of workers, the footsteps of officials, the distant call of priests, all of it fades into silence. And in this silence, your thoughts begin to turn inward, toward the vast shape before you, not only the stone you can see, but the darkness that lies within it. The Great Pyramid, like a mountain, rises above the sands. But beneath its surface, deep inside its chambers, and under its very base, lie mysteries. Spaces hidden for millennia, shafts sealed with stone, tunnels leading into shadow. Tonight, we enter not the light of the desert, but the quiet beneath. For thousands of years after Khufu's reign, the pyramid stood untouched. The desert winds swept against its sides, the Nile flowed nearby, and time moved on. But eventually, curiosity stirred. In the times of later pharaohs, in the days of the Greeks, and in the centuries of the Arabs, men sought to enter the pyramid. Imagine torches flickering against stone as explorers crawled through narrow passages. The air inside was thick, dry, ancient. Dust fell from the ceiling. The sound of footsteps echoed. They found chambers, the king's chamber with its granite sarcophagus, the queen's chamber, smaller, lined with limestone, the long grand gallery rising steeply, its walls smooth and high. And yet there was no treasure, no gold, no jewels, no mummy of Khufu himself. Only emptiness, silence, and the heavy weight of stone pressing from above. It was as though the pyramid was not a tomb, but a riddle. A monument meant to confuse, to hide, to preserve something deeper still. The explorers noticed details. Shafts leading from the king's chamber and the queen's chamber, narrow, angled upward, too small for a person to crawl through. Were they air shafts? Or channels for the soul, guiding it toward the stars? In the floor of the queen's chamber, a strange niche cut into the wall. In the ceiling of the grand gallery, mysterious slots, as though something had once been fitted there. A mechanism, a structure, now long gone. Even the king's chamber was strange. Its roof was layered with massive granite beams, stacked in 5 tiers, as if to protect it from the crushing weight of the pyramid above. Why so elaborate? What was being safeguarded? Each detail added to the mystery, each stone whispering of secrets untold. Beneath the pyramid, at the base of the plateau, lies another enigma, the Osiris shaft. Discovered near the causeway, it descends deep into the bedrock. The first level contains simple chambers. The second, reached by a vertical shaft, opens into a space with niches in the walls. And the third level, far below, holds a dark, water-filled chamber with large granite sarcophagi resting in silence. No bodies were found. No inscriptions explained its purpose. Only still water, stone, and the weight of ages. Some believe it was a symbolic tomb of Osiris, god of the underworld. A place of ritual, not burial. Others suggest it was a cenotaph, an empty tomb built to honor kings or gods. And yet, as you imagine descending into its depths, the air growing colder, the walls damp with ancient water, it feels less like a tomb and more like a secret, a place never meant for eyes to see again. In recent years, modern science has joined the search. Engineers and physicists have turned their instruments on the pyramid, using wand tomography, a way of detecting cosmic particles passing through stone, to scan its heart. What they found astonished the world. Above the grand gallery, a vast void, 30 meters long, a space untouched, unseen, undisturbed 4,000 years. No one knows what lies inside. Is it a hidden chamber? A relieving space built to ease the pyramid's weight? Or something more? The scans show only emptiness, a silent space in the heart of the pyramid, like a breath held for eternity. And so, the mystery deepens. Even with our science, our technology, the pyramid keeps its secrets. Some believe the hidden spaces were for ritual objects, statues, sacred boats, treasures, meant not for the living, but for the gods. Others say the voids were symbolic, representing the journey of the soul, the passage through the stars. The shafts point toward Orion, toward Sirius, the constellation sacred to the Egyptians. Perhaps the pyramid was not only a tomb, but a map of the heavens. Still others whisper of lost knowledge, of texts sealed away, of chambers that contain the forgotten wisdom of the ancients. And yet, when you stand in the shadow of the pyramid, none of these theories matter. What matters is the silence, the stillness, the unknowable weight of stone pressing down, keeping its secrets close. Now imagine the pyramid at night, the stars scattered above, the desert quiet, cool winds drifting across the plateau. The workers' village is dark, the palace halls are silent, but the pyramid glows faintly in the moonlight. Its vast sides stretch upward, pointing toward the heavens. Beneath it, chambers lie empty. Shafts lead nowhere, or everywhere. Voids rest in silence, like lungs unfilled. The Osiris shaft is filled with dark water, unmoving. It is a monument, but also a mystery, a riddle written in stone, a silence that speaks across 4,000 years. And so you have wandered through the mysteries beneath Giza. You have descended into shafts, climbed through galleries, looked into voids unseen by any living eyes. The pyramid remains, A mountain of stone, but also a library of silence. Its secrets are not shouted, but whispered. Not shown, but hidden. Perhaps one day, more will be revealed. Or perhaps its silence is its final truth. A mystery, eternal as the desert sky. And so, we leave behind the narrow corridors, the silent stones, and the hidden mysteries within the pyramid. Our path now takes us upward, not into the darkness, but into the light of the ancient Egyptian court. Here, life was different. Here, the rhythm of days was measured not by sweat and toil, but by ritual, ceremony, and the weight of divine power. Tonight, we step into that other world, the world of the pharaoh, the priests, and the nobles whose lives were bound to eternity in ways far removed from the workers in the sand. Imagine yourself now as the rising sun glows red above the Nile. The first light strikes the gilded tips of temple obelisks. The air is cool, touched by river mist. Inside the palace of the pharaoh, life stirs slowly and deliberately. The pharaoh's chamber is spacious, its walls painted with scenes of gods and battles, its floors lined with woven reed mats, its windows shaded with thin linen screens that allow the desert breeze to flow gently in. Servants approach quietly, bearing water in alabaster jars. They pour it into shallow basins, and the day begins with ritual washing, not merely to cleanse the body, but to purify the spirit. Priests recite soft prayers, their voices low and rhythmic. Incense of frankincense and myrrh rises in the air, a smoke both sweet and heavy. Breakfast for the ruler of Egypt is not bread and beer as for the workers, but honey, figs, pomegranates, and cool water drawn from the Nile at dawn. Every action of the pharaoh's morning is part of a sacred rhythm, a routine that aligns the living king with the gods themselves. Beyond the palace, in the shadow of great temples, the priests move through their day. Their duties begin before sunrise. They enter the temple courts barefoot, ritually cleansed, clad in linen robes white as the desert moonlight. The temple is quiet at this hour, save for the rustle of fabric and the whisper of prayers carried into the air. Every morning, they awaken the statue of the god, a ritual known as the opening of the mouth. The shrine doors are opened. Incense drifts upward. Offerings of bread, beer, and flowers are placed before the god. The priests are keepers not only of ritual, but of knowledge. They watch the stars, record the floods of the Nile, and preserve wisdom in long scrolls of papyrus. To walk among them is to walk through centuries of tradition, carefully repeated each day, each gesture an echo of 1,000 mornings before. And now, let us leave the sacred temple courts and step into the estates of Egypt's nobles. The noble's villa rises white against the desert sky, surrounded by palm groves and pools of lotus flowers. Inside, the air is cool, for the walls are thick and the windows shaded with woven screens. The floors are covered with painted tiles, blue and green like flowing water. Ceilings are painted with stars, a night sky that never fades. Meals here are lavish compared to the workers' barley bread. There is roasted duck, fresh fish from the Nile, sweet dates, and cakes flavored with honey. Musicians play lyres and flutes, their notes drifting lazily through shaded courtyards. Children laugh, chasing one another between painted columns. The noble's life is one of ease and comfort, yet still bound by duty. They oversee the estates, manage scribes, and ensure that offerings flow to temples and tombs alike. And in the evenings, they recline upon cushioned couches, the desert stars bright above them, secure in their wealth, their power, and their place in the eternal order of Egypt. At last, our path leads us back to the Pharaoh himself. For though his days are filled with ritual, his thoughts extend far beyond the moment. Every action, every command, every stone raised upon the pyramid is part of a larger vision, the dream of eternity. The Pharaoh walks among his architects, pointing to plans drawn carefully upon papyrus. He visits the pyramid plateau, where thousands labor in the sun. But unlike the worker who feels the stone with aching hands, the Pharaoh sees only the finished monument, a shining staircase to the heavens, a tomb that will ensure his soul's passage into the afterlife. At night, he sits in quiet chambers, listening to priests recite hymns to Re, the sun god, and Osiris, lord of the dead. He knows his life will end, as all lives do. But he also knows that the pyramid will remain, a vessel for his spirit, forever bound to stone and sky. And so the pyramid is not only the worker's burden, not only the mystery beneath the sand, but also the dream of the Pharaoh, who sought to touch eternity itself. And now we leave the courts of the Pharaoh, the temples of the priests, the villas of the nobles. We return once more to silence. The desert wind stirs softly. The pyramids rise dark against the star-filled sky. The Nile flows quietly in the distance, its waters eternal, its rhythm unbroken. You have walked among workers and rulers, priests and nobles, through passages of stone and chambers of mystery. And tonight, as you rest, you carry with you the echoes of a civilization long past, but never forgotten. Rest now, for the voices of Egypt are quiet once more. The sands are still, the stars are eternal. And so, our journey through the past comes to a close. The echoes of history fade into quiet, leaving only the rhythm of your breath and the comfort of rest. If you enjoyed drifting through time with us tonight, remember to like, share, and subscribe, so that you'll never miss the stories still waiting to be told. Until next time, sleep deeply and let the whispers of history guide your dreams.